What I'm about to tell you isn't advice. It's the kind of truth that rearranges a man from the inside, the kind that tightens your jaw before your mind even accepts why. Every man thinks he can herd the moment a woman leaves him, but that's the first illusion. You only notice the exit, never the countdown. If you misread this, life hits you harder than you expect, because you walk around thinking abandonment is sudden when it was happening quietly, rhythmically, behind your back. The day she packed her bags wasn't the breakup, it was the paperwork. The real separation happened months before, on a night you probably don't remember, during a moment that felt strangely calm. I'm tired of pretending men don't feel this. I'm tired of watching men collapse under something they swear didn't hurt. You know this is you. And that's when the air shifted, the exact second she stopped arguing. That silence you labeled as maturity, peace, harmony, was the sound of someone emotionally checking out, and you didn't see it because you thought no conflict meant stability. Listen closely now, because this is the turning point most men never notice. You called it, finally no drama. She called it, I'm done wasting my breath. If you ignore this truth, the cycle traps you in every relationship you'll ever enter. You think she left today. She didn't. She left 6 months ago. But the room felt different all of a sudden the day she quit fighting for the relationship, and instead of questioning it, you enjoyed it. You mistook distance for serenity. And here's the part that shakes you. While you were relaxing into the quiet, she was grieving the relationship in real time, right next to you, while you slept next to someone emotionally slipping out from under your arm. The room held its breath. You didn't notice. You assumed women cry when they're about to leave, but the truth is scarier. They cry long before that. By the time they look calm, they're already gone inside themselves. You'll replay this part without meaning to. I felt colder, but sharper, as if the silence was slicing through something I didn't know I was supposed to protect. She's quieter than usual, but maybe she's just tired. She's not complaining anymore. Maybe she's finally understanding me, and just when I thought the moment was done, it wasn't. Notice how your chest tightened as you read that. That's because a man's instinct senses danger before his ego allows him to admit it. If you react wrong here, you fracture internally, because misreading her silence rewrites your entire self-story. And every man has a breaking point hidden exactly where he thinks he's strongest. But here's what no one tells you. The months leading to a breakup run backwards. You only understand them once they've already destroyed something you thought was unshakable. Every day she seemed calmer. She was actually unhooking another thread, detangling her attachment so thoroughly that when she finally reached for the door, she felt nothing but relief. You thought she was healing with you. She was healing from you. The silence changed before the truth did. This is the moment most men never notice. She stopped correcting you. She stopped pointing out where the relationship could be saved. She stopped telling you what hurt her. She stopped reminding you of things you used to do. She stopped hoping you'd adjust. That's emotional rigor mortis. The relationship dies long before the body leaves. You know this is you. Listen closely. Every man thinks he wants peace, but you didn't notice the peace you were celebrating had nothing to do with unity. It was surrender. It was her rehearsing a life without you, and you applauded it as maturity. There was a quiet second, and everything clicked the night you said, "See, we don't fight anymore." And she just nodded with that tired, empty half-smile. You completely misread the temperature of the room. The room held its breath again, waiting for you to recognize the danger. You didn't. Ignore this insight and time will choose for you, because silence isn't where love thrives. It's where resentment incubates until it becomes indifference. She was grieving the relationship while still inside it, and you didn't feel the grieving because men don't sense absence until it becomes physical. Women feel it emotionally first, men feel it spatially later. That's the gap that destroys them. And right when you think it's over, it isn't. She still cooked. She still replied. She still said goodnight. She still asked if you needed anything. But pay attention to the micro behaviors, the clinical markers. Her tone softer, not out of love, but out of depletion. Her eyes resting longer on the floor than on you. Her fingers still when you touched her waist. Her breathing steady when you raised your voice because she no longer cared to match your energy. Internal monologue. She used to fight for me. Why isn't she fighting now? And this is where the metaphor comes in. Controlled, surgical, precise. Breaking up with a man for a woman is like unwinding a tightly tied rope after a storm. She has to loosen one knot at a time. That's why by the time she's ready to leave, the rope falls apart silently in her hands, while you're still wondering how it unraveled. Now you see what most men hide from. You called it peace. She called it preparation. Most men never see the emotional countdown because they're distracted by the lack of noise. But silence isn't safety. Silence is strategy. She stopped arguing not because she trusted you, but because arguing requires emotional investment, and she withdrew that investment 5 months before you noticed anything. The room felt different all of a sudden in small ways. She responded slower, she laughed less. Her phone stayed face down not because she was hiding anything, but because she didn't have anything left to show you. You know this is you. And this is where the delayed tension reveal hits. The day she left, she didn't cry. You did. Because she had already finished her grief in private nights, pillow pressed to her face, back turned to you while you slept, fingers clenched in silent frustration. She healed early so she could leave clean. You stayed wounded because you didn't know the injury happened months earlier. If you ignore this truth, the cycle traps you again and again, and the silence you chase will be the silence that buries you. When she finally zipped her bag, she wasn't emotional. She wasn't trembling. Her voice wasn't shaking. She didn't avoid eye contact. That wasn't strength. That was completion. That was closure she earned alone, stitch by stitch, while you thought everything was fine. You know this is you. And that's when the air shifted for the last time. Not because she was leaving, but because she had already left inside, and you were just now catching up to the moment. Every man who hears this feels the same tightness in his chest, the same sting behind the ribs, the same disbelief that the ending wasn't an ending, but a revelation. Say what hit you first. Ignore this, and nothing recalibrates. You'll keep mistaking emotional withdrawal for peace. You'll keep celebrating silence as compatibility. You'll keep destroying connections without understanding the timeline of their death. If you avoid this insight, you'll never feel stable in love, because you'll always be 3 months behind the truth. And just when you think the moment was done, it wasn't. What I'm about to say now is the part men resist the most, because it forces you to confront the version of yourself you've been avoiding. When she walked out, you thought she shattered you in one brutal moment, but the real destruction was slow, quiet, microscopic. Months of tiny exits stacked on top of each other until she had no exits left to take. And the room felt different all of a sudden because you finally sensed the vacuum she'd been living in for half a year. You tell yourself she abandoned you, but the truth is you abandoned the conflict and she abandoned the hope. If he ignores this, he keeps bleeding into every future version of himself. Listen closely. Men grieve backwards, women grieve forward. That's why you break down when you see the empty closet while she broke down when she still slept next to you. That's why you collapse during the final goodbye, while she collapsed during the last argument you brushed off. And that's when the air shifted. She realized you weren't listening anymore, so she stopped speaking. Silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the presence of resignation. I'm tired of pretending men don't feel this. I'm tired of pretending silence doesn't cut deeper than any shouted words. You know this is you. There was a quiet second, and everything clicked once you remembered the night she sighed at something small, something trivial, and you told her, "You're overreacting." That night broke her timeline clean in half. Every woman has one moment where she mentally steps out of the relationship long before she physically does. And if he misreads that moment, life hits him harder than truth ever could. She didn't leave the day she left. She left the day she stopped trying to be understood. She used to talk to me like I mattered. When did her eyes stop searching my face for a reaction? The silence changed before the truth did. You thought she stayed because she loved you. No. She stayed because healing requires privacy, and the only place she had privacy was inside her own detachment. She learned how to stop caring while still bringing you coffee. She learned how to stop hoping while still holding your hand. She learned how to stop loving while still wearing your hoodie. Indifference looks gentle from the outside, but it's the coldest form of closure a woman ever gives a man. And just when you think it's over, it isn't. Listen closely now, because the psychological recoil matters. Every man believes he can fix things once he realizes what's wrong. But by the time you finally felt the distance, she wasn't distant. She was already gone. By the time you tried to apologize, she wasn't hurt, she was numb. By the time you asked her to talk, she wasn't quiet, she was done. That's the hidden structure of emotional departure. The person who leaves last hurts most because they're the only one still attached. Notice how your chest tightened hearing that. Men always show up late to their own heartbreak. You'll replay this part without meaning to. This is where the real delayed tension reveal sits. She didn't pack her bag out of frustration, she packed it out of completion. She wasn't trembling, she wasn't confused. Her hands were steady, her breathing calm, her voice unshaken. That calmness traumatized you because you expected chaos. But she had already experienced her chaos months earlier. The room held its breath again. You didn't. Here's what no one tells you. Every breakup is asymmetrical. One person leaves emotionally first, the other leaves physically last, and every man confuses the physical exit for the emotional one. That's why you felt blindsided, because you weren't watching the right timeline. She wasn't yours in those last months. She was rehearsing how to be her own person again. She untangled herself thread by thread until nothing inside her belonged to you anymore. And here's the emotional contradiction you never caught. You felt the relationship becoming calmer, but she felt it becoming colder. You felt more secure, she felt more suffocated. You thought she was healing, she was disappearing. And the room felt different all of a sudden, because your body knew before your mind did that something essential had gone missing. What I'm about to say next is going to scrape against parts of you that still haven't scarred over. Listen closely. When she stopped arguing, you won nothing, you lost everything. Arguments mean investment. Frustration means hope. Complaints mean she still believes there's something worth saving. But the day she stopped fighting was the day she announced silently that she no longer saw a future worth building with you. That's the needle drop effect. The one line that replays in every man's mind years later. She didn't stop fighting because she trusted me. She stopped fighting because she stopped caring. It hit every man in the same place, the part we protect with distraction, pride, and denial. Now you see what most men hide from. And that's when the air shifted again. But this shift was yours, not hers. It's the moment after she leaves when reality finally slams into you. You sit in a room that suddenly feels too large, too quiet, too hollow. You pick up her leftover hair tie, and it doesn't smell like her anymore. Your fingers freeze mid-motion because your body remembers her presence even if your life no longer has it. The air feels heavier, your jaw tightens, your throat stings, and you finally understand what silence was supposed to warn you about. Ignore this lesson and nothing recalibrates. You'll keep losing women the same way, slowly, silently, preventably. But here's the part that cuts the deepest. She didn't leave because of the final fight. She left because of the last time she tried to reach you and found nothing to hold on to. She left because you stopped meeting her halfway. She left because she felt alone while standing next to you. That's the kind of loneliness that doesn't scream. It erodes. She left because you didn't notice her emotional injuries until after she had already healed from them. You came to fix wounds she no longer had. That's why she didn't cry. That's why she didn't break. She had already rebuilt herself into someone who no longer needed your validation to feel whole. And when a woman reaches that emotional plateau, no apology resurrects anything. There was a quiet second, and everything clicked when you realized she didn't flinch at the door. She didn't look back. She didn't hesitate. She didn't wait for you to say something. She wasn't angry. She wasn't afraid. She wasn't hopeful. She was free. And just when you think it's over, it isn't. Because the real pain begins after she's gone. You'll walk into rooms and swear you hear her humming. You'll open the fridge and expect her voice behind you. You'll wake up and reach for someone who isn't there. That's how men grieve, through phantom habits and muscle memory. Notice how your chest tightened again. Listen closely. The moment you realize she left months ago is the moment you understand that heartbreak doesn't happen at the end. It happens in all the moments you thought meant nothing. If you avoid this insight, nothing in you recalibrates. And if nothing recalibrates, every relationship you ever touch will rot the same way, silently, slowly, relentlessly. And now, masculine clarity. No one escapes the emotional timelines they refuse to acknowledge. All human nature depends on awareness, and every man who fails to see a woman's emotional departure ends up repeating his own devastation. If even one part of this felt like your life, You and I are built from the same scars. Picture yourself standing in that quiet room, finally choosing strength. Say what hit you first. Now go. Carry this like armor, not regret.